where
then the environment was cleaned up.
The first time I was hearing about this stuff, it was totally new to me.
With social impact consulting.
Was a year of consciousness. So with that consciousness, we are going to see more action, more civic activism.
If you look at the right and freedom of citizens to express themselves freely, that is deteriorating.
One of the major threats to the civic space in 2022 remains government, repressive governments and governmental action.
Advocacy is for a purpose to influence social change in the positive direction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Development Sector Series, which is Dev Sector Series. This episode is again brought to you by Social Impact Consulting. We're a development consultancy firm that looks to maximize social impact. For more information, you can see everything going down in the page right here. Go on www.socialimpactng.com. If you want more information about a free consultation, free webinar, or even a consult, let me know and I'll be here to serve you. Like I said, if you're a nonprofit social enterprise, I feel like it's my calling to serve you so that you can change the world. Okay. So this is another episode of Dev Sector Series. You guys have been so supportive of this platform over the years. Just one caveat. My social impact consulting Facebook page, I believe that there's been some malicious intent on my page because the page was deactivated. And, when I tweeted about it, they said that it's probably someone with malicious intent that did that. Luckily, I have a backup page, which is Truly Unique Limited, which was the initial name of my firm, before changing the name to Social Impact Consulting, but the actual holding company is Truly Unique Limited. So that's where it's housed on Facebook, but LinkedIn, YouTube, same location. So I just wanted to just give you more details about what we're going to be talking about today. I don't know, for those of you who follow me very often, I did a reel yesterday on the Education Act, the Student Loan Act. Because I am a returnee of the diaspora. I've been in Nigeria now for over 10 years, but I was in the United States for over 15. And I understand the impact of student loans over there. So I'm just kind of wanting to get more understanding about the Student Loan Act. And I have an expert, and I'm just so grateful that at such last minute, he was able to make some time to have a conversation about this very important law that the president has passed. And this is a president that, it looks like he's been talking about student loans in his campaigns. He talked about it in 2014, talked about it in 2022. Now he passed it as law. So we want to know what's up with the law. Is it going to help? Is it going to make make education better in Nigeria or not? So, we have a special guest, Barrister Kelechukwu Agwu. He's actually a law lecturer at Baze University. So it's not somebody that's just going to be speaking English, somebody who knows his onions, who knows the law, who knows the Constitution, and he'll begin to let us know how this is going to work and how this is going to favor us as citizens of our nation. So I'm going to read his entire bio, and then we will then introduce him, okay? Because I really, really appreciate him for being patient with me and taking this time to even have this conversation with us. Thank you so much, Barrister Kelechukwu. God bless you. So I'm going to read his bio, and then we're going to move on forward, okay? All right. Barrister Sunday Kelechukwu Agwu is a legal practitioner with bias for clinical legal education, justice education, access to justice, social justice, and research. He has over 8 years post-qualification experience in justice and rights advocacy. He led a team of students at the Ebonyi State University's Law Clinic as an assistant team lead, Freedom of Information Advocacy Project, and the overall team lead of the school's clinic. He led a team of young lawyers whose core mandate is to provide free services to the poor under the Legal Aid Community Development Group in the federal capital of Abuja. He's also the program manager of a free law awareness platform known as LearnNigerianLaws.com that promotes awareness and understanding of laws of Nigeria, Sabi Law, and offers free daily law tips, #daily law tips, across Nigeria, and anchors the free legal radio show, Sabi Law, on the Beat 97.9 FM, Abuja. He was also an associate at OFY Lawyers, Abuja, and provides legal and compliance advisory to startups and organizations. He worked as an NULAI Nigeria project officer on Reform Kuje Prison Project, later on renamed as Pretrial Detention in Nigeria, a project funded by the U.S. Department of State aimed at supporting the government of Nigeria to reform pretrial detention at the Nigerian prisons and provide greater access to justice for awaiting trial inmates. Under this project, he studied the pretrial process of the United States and Nigeria, having coordinated the exchange visit between students and professors of the University of Abuja, now University, and Baze University Law Clinics in Nigeria, and Georgetown University Law Center and the University of Maryland Law Clinics in the United States. The project recorded huge successes. He provided technical support to over 42 university-based law clinics in Nigeria under the NULAI network. He has attended numerous conferences, presented papers, and been on several panels discussing clinical legal education, access to justice, and criminal justice administration in Nigeria. He is a member of Global Alliance for Justice Education, GAJI, the Chartered Institute of Mediators and Conciliators, and the Nigerian Bar Association. He loves to teach and exchange ideas. He is currently a lecturer at the Faculty of Law, Baze University, Abuja, where he teaches ethics and professional responsibility, law of evidence, law of trust, social justice, and public interest lawyering. He is also the clinical law administrator at the Baze University, Abuja. Allow me to introduce to some and present to others, Barrister Kelechukwu Agwu.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good afternoon. I am great.
Is my audio great? Hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can hear you very clearly. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So again, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us about this. I really wanted to have an on-time discussion. Again, I want to publicly thank Irene Bangwell. Thank you so much for making this happen and working behind the scenes. I appreciate you, sis. I wanted to really make sure that we kind of had a conversation about the Student Loan Act that our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu passed and signed into law. So, but I want to kind of first start from the very beginning in terms of tertiary education in Nigeria and some of the challenges. So can you just give us a sense of what the challenges are, so that we can start from somewhere and then figure out what this law plans to address? So.
All right, so thank you very much for this great opportunity. I don't take it for granted. I'm someone that is passionate about education and about young people. So immediately Pastor Irene says, look, we are discussing the students' loan and education in Nigeria. I say, oh, okay, that's fine. I would make out time to join. So I happen to have attended public institutions all my life in Nigeria. So I can speak, and then I'm now teaching at a private institution. So I usually tell people that I have experienced both extremes of our educational system in Nigeria. So I attended a state-owned university, and I can tell you at that time, our school fees for law was at 89,000. I can't remember exactly, but it was slightly below 190,000 for what they termed indigents of the state, right? So those who were not from my state had to pay as high as 250, 230. Yeah, we can look at that now and say, well, that's fair enough. But if you consider the state where we are talking about and consider the time it was, that was some huge sum at the time. At the time, federal universities were paying as low as 15,000, 20,000 naira. So there was this dichotomy between state-owned universities and federal government-owned universities. And of course, we know the dichotomy between the private universities and the public universities. Students are made to pay millions of naira in the private universities. Well, let me say this, that education all over the world is not cheap.
True.
Education is not cheap, which is why what we have considered, or what the law has considered to be a fundamental right, is not education in itself, but basic education. So what we are saying is government should make basic education compulsory and free. So after basic education, what you make do with your life is pretty much your business. Right. So because after basic education, you are liberty to get into businesses. Oh, my then governor jokingly said, not everybody should go to the university. And we had farmlands. People, when we protested the increase in school fees then, he said, look, not everyone should go to the university. Some of you should go to the farms and start working and all of that. We said, well, that's fair enough. But those who are interested in education should be given support, should be given something that makes it a lot easier for them to pursue that path. While those who want to go into business, for instance, a lot of my friends who went into business after our secondary school, they are way richer than I am today. But I don't regret the path I've chosen because it's the path I want to go. So can there be opportunities? Can we create avenues that make it easy for people to pursue the path they want to go? So let's take, for instance, someone from a family that the father earns about, an average family, 250,000 a month in Nigeria. Let me just put that as an average family, right? So, and they stay somewhere in one of the states. So they have to pay house rent. House rent in Nigeria is not also very cheap. Housing is not cheap in Nigeria. So you take, for instance, in the minimum, let's say they pay 20,000 naira a month. That goes off. There is feeding. There are other children that will be taken care of, and there is also development. Of course, the man might have a car, so transportation also comes into play. You discover at the end of the month, a sincere worker, a sincere civil servant would find it difficult to send the child to a tertiary institution in Nigeria without having to take loans from the bank. So you also consider that the way we've made our economy in Nigeria, everyone now wants to get the certificate, even those who are not interested in doing anything with the certificate afterwards. So We now take, for instance, where we have that situation where there is a rush for schooling, there's a rush for certificates, but we don't have the income to pursue that. Governments have also, in our time, we had scholarships, we had bursaries, but so many governments now around the states here in Nigeria have stopped that bursary system and giving scholarship to the students and all of that. Again, I see some point with what my former governor said. He says, look, we looked at the list of all those who were on state government scholarship, and there were children of commissioners, children of big businessmen, so the people who were benefiting from these bursaries and these scholarships were people
people who didn't even need it.
Exactly, people who can afford education. So what then do we do to those who can't afford it, but they need it? Which is why I'm one of those that believe that the Student Loan Act that has just been passed, of course, we give the credit to President Tinubu for signing it into law, but I'm sure we know that the process of lawmaking didn't just happen within the 2 weeks of his administration. So we also give kudos to President Muhammadu Buhari, who and the Senate, the Ninth Senate, the Ninth National Assembly, who passed that law and actually now handed it over to the president, who assented to it. So we are glad that these things have come up, right? So if we look at the educational system, are we ready for students' loan? What are the implications of the students' loan system? What are the implications for Nigeria? What is our culture towards loans? And how
you're going to the next question. You're going into the next question, yeah.
All right, so we now see that the student loan addresses some of these issues that have been raised. So for instance, if my parents cannot afford to pay my school fees, I said, okay, give me the loan, let me pay the fees, and then I pay it after I have graduated. For instance, the act itself says that the payment will be repaid 2 years after national service.
Okay.
Right? 2 years after national service. That is what that act says. Now, but let's look at it, F1. You look at it and you see that how many Nigerian youths get employed 2 years after national service?
That is the $1 million question I've been asking when I saw this act that had been passed. That is the question.
So, well, in all intents, the act it's good. We appreciate the fact that the thought in itself is good. And the good thing is the act says there will be a committee that will be set up to manage the process, right? Though the act was not clear if they're just managing the funds or the process. Now it says they will manage the entire process. They will administer the entire process, right? Let me just be a little bit specific. If we look at section, sorry, let me not sound too lawyerly, but let me just take you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We need that expertise so that you are letting us know what are some of the provisions of this law that would benefit us. And my own issue is this, okay? Yeah. For example, one of President Biden in the US, one of his campaign points was student loan forgiveness, because there's a student loan epidemic in America. Somebody can just go to Yale and study humanities and can't get a job afterwards, and then they already have like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, then over $100,000 in debt, and they're not able to pay because they are not really able to get a job that that will be able to pay back even the interest of the loan. So based on what it says, the interest is 0%.
Yeah.
Apprehension. You can.
The good thing about our act is that is a non-interest loan.
For how long?
Right? Is
that going to change? Is that going to change? That's what's making me nervous.
The act says is non-interest and is non-interest. But what is going to happen now is that private institutions, private banks may begin to start giving their own forms of loan.
That is, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, because if they're going to go to a private bank for this loan, what's in it for them to be doing all the paperwork concerning the loan? They'll have to, You know,
exactly.
they're going to be clowns, they're going to manage the paperwork, and they're going to have to pay their staff. So,
and the processes, the whole process by the act says you have to apply through your bank.
Exactly. So,
right?
What's in it for them?
That's on the one hand, because we need to know what they are going to do. Eventually, some institutions may come up with the ideas of, instead of waiting for the government loan, let's give the students this loan at our own terms, which is not the one that the government, that the act talks about. But let's stick to what the act says now, right? This time around. So the act says that there shall be a fund. There shall be established a fund. Now, the act mixes up commission, mixes up committee, mixes up fund. But let's not get into that. We are looking at the practical realities, right? We are not analyzing the act academically. So I'm not going to go into the academics of that, right? So, but look at that situation. Nigeria will get to a situation where we'll start talking about loan forgiveness. We'll get to that. But even before then, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigeria gave out COVID loans. How many Nigerians are paying back that loan? There is a COVID loan. Yes, there is a COVID-19 loan that was rolled out by the CBN under the Nigerian Microfinance Bank, which is a microfinance bank of the CBN. So that loan was intended for low-income families to survive, you know, to support their businesses, to help cushion the effects of COVID-19 and the rest of that. But how many people have started paying back? Okay. The moratorium is gone. The time has expired when they're supposed to start. In fact, I tell you something, when they were doing the loan, right? Someone called me and said, Kenneth, let's apply for this loan. I said, why do we need to apply? It's a loan, it's not a grant.
It's not a grant.
Yes. We are going to pay back someday. He says, look, are there people in Sokoto who took the loan? Are there people in so he called some states and said, those who took the loan. I said, yes, if there are people there. He said, these loans will never be paid back. It's government money. So I said, just imagine, that gives you an idea.
That's the attitude.
That gives you an idea of what our people, of the kind of culture we have towards loans in Nigeria. When it is government loan, everybody rushes to take it because they know there will be some mix-up somewhere. There will be a director that will be changed. There will be a documentation error somewhere. Now, let's even talk about documentation. We don't have an address system.
We don't.
We don't have a system that tracks people. So you want to give me a loan today, and then once I graduate and do NYSC, okay, they say that the act says that the committee shall follow the people who have applied up to NYSC to get details of their employment and the rest of that. So what if they don't do the NYSC?
I know.
NYSC, it is compulsory, but you and I know that in Nigeria, except you're looking for a government work, except you want to do something for the government, people don't really ask you for the NYSC discharge. Right? So what if you don't want to do NYSC? How will people be tracked? It's okay. So and you also now say I have to go and get people to guarantee me level 12 and above civil servants, a lawyer of 10 years and above, or
where are they going to get that kind of person? Like, for example,
let me tell you what will happen now. Some persons who are from level 12 above will start taking money from people to sign guarantors for them. So we have that situation in our criminal justice system, right? Where they ask you to bring a surety for bail and the rest of that. There are people who have constituted themselves into professional sureties.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a risky business.
Which is why, because they know there is no address system, right? They know there is no way to trace them back. But I want to believe that this new administration, one agenda they must put in place is that it's not just about signing these laws. They must put in place structures before they go out on implementing this act. They must put in place structures that will make sure that the loan comes back. Now, the act says that there is a 1% of every tax that is, of every revenue generated by FIRS, customs, and the rest of it, 1% of it comes back comes to the CBN, which will be used for this to fund this loan, right? So is it in perpetuity? Is there not going to be a form of revolval? Is it not going to be like a revolving loan? When people return the ones they've taken, you use it to pay the rest. I see a situation now. There will be a commission, or there will be a fund. There will be an office created for this. They're going to have staff because the act says they will administer the loan.
Sure.
They are going to have staff. We are creating more jobs. Excellent. Are we also thinking of this fund? Is it the 1%? Is it just for the loan, or is the 1% going to use to pay the staff who are going to work there? Right? So there are a whole lot of issues around this loan that needs to be cleared out before they start giving the loans.
So it needs to be fleshed out a bit more.
Yeah. For crying out loud, it's not just about the government, the citizens, our culture. We need to have a reorientation. Is the National Orientation Agency ready to take up this responsibility of educating people on what this loan means? People who really need these loans, would they access it? Now, that takes me to the point that they said 500,000 naira, if you earn below 500,000 naira a year, then you are entitled to that.
But what about those who make more? Like, there are people who make like 2 million a year, 5 million a year, that can't even afford to take their kids to college. Like, it's
a salary of 200,000 comes to about 2.4 million.
2.4 million, yes. And then by the time you take out taxes and all that stuff, it's even less.
Exactly. So where do those people fit in? So I am earning more than 500,000, but I still can't send my children to school. So what happens in that instance? Are we also now looking at a situation where, okay, I now underdeclare my income just to get this? Are we also now looking at even thinking about people who are single parents? Because you said those families must have less than 500,000. So single parents, for instance, the mom is taking care of the child and she's not earning up to 500,000. But the dad earns more than 500,000. Do we also consider that the university fees are going to go up?
Yeah, exactly.
Because with the student loan system, the federal government is going to remove its hands from subsidizing tuition. And mind you, the act says that this loan is explicitly for tuition.
What about room and board? Because room and board, expenses, and what have you, that's also an important aspect of things as well.
If you pick an average university in Nigeria's school fees breakdown, tuition is the cheapest item you will find there.
Yeah.
There's examination fees, there is this levy, there is that levy, there is that levy. So your loan is given towards the tuition. So what happens to the rest? So a lot of these are issues that we are really going to, Nigeria, the government should sit down and flesh out before jumping into giving this loan. Yes, we are excited. Honestly, I'm excited with the thought of it, but there are going to be consequences.
It's like I already foresee some issues happening with this Student Loan Act already. Which takes me even down to our question. For those of you who are in the audience on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, if you have any questions for Barrister Kelechukwu, please put it in the comments, and then we'll be happy to continue this conversation after this question. One of the things I was also looking at is that it's like I just foresee a huge number of graduates with no job. That's already one. Second, the primary education, the primary and secondary school education that's funded by the states, which is with people within that salary bracket, may send their children to public schools or some of these mushroom private schools, some of these smaller private schools. So they send their children to these schools, but they come out and they're not ready. They can't spell, they can't write. I mean, when I interview graduates, I weep. You understand what I'm saying? So they don't know how to do those fundamentals. Some of them just skate through the university by, you know, how they say, by hook or by crook. And then they come out and then they are unemployable. So I see a larger amount of people who are going to be unemployable. And then I also see the fact that there is no industry in Nigeria. Manufacturing is just about gone because the energy costs, of course, when they took out the subsidy, is ginormous. So people are cutting back. Employers are cutting back. People are working from home. So these are the issues I'm seeing. I'm seeing it from not the back end. The back end is a sweet deal, Kenneth. It's a sweet deal. But the front end, on the outcome side, unless they are able to kind of handle the president is able to handle that within his first 100 days, giving an enabling environment for small and medium scale enterprises to be able to work and thrive so that they are able to hire the offtake of students that are going to be coming out of school. You know, another thing I was looking at is attitudinal change. We Nigerians have an attitude of we're super narcissistic, we Nigerians. We have this sense of entitlement. So when an employee comes into an establishment, they're looking for shortcuts. They're looking for ways to siphon money from employers. So employers are constantly on the alert. They want to be present in their business to protect their investments. And because of that, they are not able to scale. And when a business owner scales, what is he able to do? What is she able to do? Hire more people. The employment increases. So those are the issues that I'm looking at based on the Student Loan Act. It's a sweet deal that, you know, I have a nephew that lives with me, and I'm happy that, hey, you know, there's a possibility that he may get assistance in going to college, you know, but at what price? So those are some of the things I'm looking at.
So you see, these issues, these concerns are very germane, right? The act itself places too much powers in the CBN governor for this loan, right? Though it says members of the committee will include the minister in charge of education, the minister in charge of finance, someone from ASU, someone from, you know, a lot of people, but the chairman is the CBN governor, and the chairman appoints a secretary who heads administration of that, of the entire process. So a CBN governor is looking at these things as the financial cost. He's not looking at the psychological cost on the students. We need to consider that. So I come out and I'm in an office and working with people, and there's segregation based on, oh, you're on a student loan, you are repaying loan. So, and there's no, I don't have to. So we're going to create another class. We're going to create another social class. Young graduates who are struggling to fend for themselves, and they're looking for how to pay back these loans. Employers are not going to increase your pay because you are paying a student loan.
They are not too.
The act says the student loan will be repaid by 10% of your income deducted at source. So your employer is to pay 10% of whatever your money is to the government. How are governments supporting small and medium scale enterprises?
Exactly.
How is the government?
Exactly.
Because the truth is that the government is not able to employ every graduate.
They can't.
The high rate of unemployment in Nigeria is already way, way too high to come and add to it. Good thing is it's going to assist the students, but the structure needs to be put in place for it to function well. This
Exactly.
structure includes what kind of assistance can we give? So are we changing our educational system to make it more entrepreneurial? To make people now, the act assumes that every person who takes the loan is going to work somewhere and will have an employer. So if I graduate and decide not to work for anybody, how do I repay my loan? Looking at our very funny and faulty data system in Nigeria.
Yeah.
How do I repay the loans as a businessman? I can move from here to Cameroon and start doing business there. That's Nigerian money spent on me, gone. What happens in a case where the student with student's loan wants to jackpot, like we say? Does he have to pay off all the loan before he's allowed to travel?
That is so true. Maybe when he's applying for a passport and then they put in his NIN, they'll say, sorry, you still owe money, so we can't give you a passport. That could be a way to keep people behind. However, you know what I've noticed? Nigeria, corruption is the engine room in which it runs. It's very unfortunate. I think a president, no matter how good his intentions are, the cancer of corruption in Nigeria is what needs to be rooted. The tumor needs to be rooted out like a laser beam.
That's our fear with this whole process.
That's the thing, because an official will say, we'll give you the loan, you have to give me 10%. Like, you have to give me something. Like,
never say official.
The registrar's office in the university, even the university, they'll say, in order for us to accept your application.
The people who will even sign as guarantor for you, the people who will sign as your guarantor will ask you for money. Clearly, during the CBN loan, during the COVID loan, whatever, a lot of people paid as high as 70% to get that loan.
What?
Yes.
Yes, so
people were deceived that his government loan, it won't be paid back. So they paid as high as 70%. And I tell you,
so
a government will come.
And then you still have to pay it back.
A government will come that will insist on those loans being paid back. So what is the corruption in that space is something we also need to seriously deal with. Because if we do not deal with it, the whole system will be messed up. We're already in a situation where very troubled on what to do. Now, the student's loan, is it just for people attending public institutions? People who want to attend private institutions? What's the quality of our education there, right? But to be honest, I think it's something exciting that the government is beginning to think about this. But then, like we said, there really needs to be a lot of work to be put in place before this comes into place.
And let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I feel like the government, the Buhari administration, I honestly think that President Buhari had every intention of addressing corruption. I really feel like he was sincere. Like, I want to address corruption. But corruption prevailed. Do you understand what I'm saying? Corruption prevailed and became metastasized into a big behemoth that now this new administration, how do you handle corruption? And look, I've lived in Lagos. I was born in Lagos. I lived in Lagos for many years before I traveled out, came back, still stayed in Lagos. I know the system in which our president operates in Lagos. So he's the largest landlord in Lagos. It's not a secret. There is no viable political opposition. Peter Obi and Labour Party really shook things up over here. My thing is is that going to be replicated in Abuja, or is he like, look, I'm old, I'm close to the grave because I'm in my 80s. I want to build a legacy. I want my name to outlive me, to be one of the greats in politics. So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I want to make a change. So I'm just wondering how this law being passed, if it's going to make a difference, if it's trying to make a change, or it's more of status quo, or it's just, or the corruption is even going to metastasize into something that we can't even understand. Ufoma Ugovu, thank you so much for your comments. We're going to put it out on the platform. If you have any questions or comments, please put it on the platform so that we can put it on the, we can continue to discuss. In addition to that, please let me know your name, where you're watching from, so that I can give you a shout out when we're done with the program. Please let me just, let me know, let me recognize you. You showed me some love all this time. Let me recognize you. Okay, I really appreciate you all for watching. So, like I was saying,
issues about corruption. Issues about
corruption. It's a big issue. It's a big issue.
We all thought President Buhari was the Messiah, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what happens, right? When you get into a system, the people you surround yourself with are even more important than the person who is in charge. So if the person who is in charge gets a team of people who are focused and we are dealing with this, there's going to be some change. But there has to be, the people walking around you also need to see what we now call your body language. So if you turn to your right, you see corruption. You turn to your left, you see corruption. You look forward, you see corruption. You look backwards, you see corruption. What do you do as the man in the middle?
Yeah.
I would think that President Buhari gave in. He gave in, and then, the earlier days he fell sick, you had to leave and all of that. So a lot of people, there was really nobody giving instructions or directions to anybody. Yeah. So one of my prayers for President Tinubu, of course, no matter what the outcome of the tribunals are, if he remains the president, one of the things I pray for him every day is that he's going to be in good health and be in charge, so that we can actually say he did this or he didn't do that. Because if he's not in charge, we cannot say clearly that he fought corruption or that he did not fight corruption. But there must be a strong statement from his body language that says the president is not ready, is not going to tolerate this. Every other person will align. Take, for instance, the first month of Buhari's administration. All the contractors in Abuja went back to work. All the abandoned projects, they started working on them. But after the first month, the second month, the third month, people didn't see that initial reaction that they thought they would see. They all went back to their shelves and continued business as usual. So to make this students' loan business work in Nigeria, there must be, corruption needs to be fought.
Yeah.
Now,
that's the only way.
You have instances where students are in school for up to 3 years and they don't have a matriculation number yet. Students are in school for 2 years and they've not seen their result for the last 2 years.
What?
That says that one of the things that the committee would do is to make sure that the students maintain a certain result to be able to qualify, right? In a situation where you see your 100 level result in 300 level.
Are you, oh my God.
Like I said, I attended public institutions from my nursery school till my first degree, my master's degree, and even at other postgraduate levels, right? So I can tell you, there are only a few universities, public universities in Nigeria, where after a semester, you are sure you would see your result. which is one of the things I must appreciate the private schools, the private universities for doing. There's what is called, like for instance, in my school at Baze University, there's something called a progression map. If your results don't tally and your progression map does not progress you to the next level, you have to repeat that level.
Wow.
But I attended a public institution where you are in 300 level and you are told you failed the 100 level course.
And then you have to go back.
You have to go back and write the 100 level course. Some others is at the point of result compilation for graduation.
Are you serious?
You will see some results are missing. When they say missing results, you are now wondering, how did they miss? So you see that if this is not checked, we're also going to have a system where the people who have the funds get access to the student loan. There is also the legal issue, the question of what age do students get into tertiary institutions in Nigeria? It needs to be clear. Because if at age 16, I'm getting into the university and I apply for a student loan, my parents apply for me because I'm not up to 18. Did I give my consent? On what basis would you want me to pay back a loan that was applied for by my parents? Let's also look at the legal issues behind a parent, a student, to determine whether a student is qualified now goes back to the family income. So what if the child wants to go to university, and as the parents, I don't want the child to go to university? So, but again, he has to use my
These are so many things.
My parents don't want me to go to university, right? And then they have to use their background to check if I'm eligible or not. My parents let's assume they earn more than the 500,000. But they're not interested in sending me to school, which means I will not be qualified for the student's loan. It's a whole lot in the mix, right? But
yeah, so I think, like, for example, the Kama law that was passed, you now had some regulations that came for implementation. Hopefully all this stuff is fleshed out. They have a committee of educators, civil society. They come together and say, okay, what would be some of the standard operating procedures? Like, you get what I'm saying? So that we can flesh all these nuances out and say, okay, this is how it's going to go. Because you may even have students. What about an Amajiri that maybe got a scholarship from maybe the Borno state government to go from K through 12, and he doesn't really have a source of income and he wants to go to the university? Like, these are some of the holes that need to be filled.
Of course, the act, like I said, gives the CBN governor a lot of powers. So he's going to put out regulations to regulate this, right? The commission set up, the fund that will be set up will have a regulation that guides.
The CBN has too much power. In this country, the CBN has too much power, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Abuse of office is inevitable when you have too much power. Look at what is happening to Emefiele now. Sometimes it's just human nature to be drunk with power, to be power drunk. So it's just a case of there needs to be there needs to be a check and balance in this whole thing. But I'm seeing some comments flooding in on YouTube. YouTube, thank you so much. Ufoma, you are on a roll, and I see Agwu Uchena is also.
Hello? Efua, can you still hear me? Oh.
but I said sometimes these network providers say they are faster than the former, but all in all, they are all the same.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I think I missed at some point. So I was
yes.
just going to say that, you see, the CBN has been given these powers by the Act, right?
Mhm,
But I also want to fault our civil societies at some point, right? And this is
let's
the
hear
point
it.
I will make. The legislative process doesn't happen in one day. So who was there monitoring this law from the point it was presented on the floor? Who monitored the progress? Who monitored what was happening? The civil societies are supposed to act as a watchdog for the society, right? So what is happening? We are a bit reactionary. When Kama was passed, everybody now started talking. Kama this, Kama this, Kama. And I asked, it took some years for Kama to be enacted. So nobody knew. So this law has now come again and we are reacting again. We need to, from time to time, look at, begin to trace laws and see how it's going, to see what can be done. The law is passed, the sign into law is the law. All we can do now is to, try to find ways around it to make sure these things begin to work for the country and for the sakes of the poor people. Like our president will say, let the poor breathe in Nigeria. Hello, Efwa.
Okay, there we are. Okay, so we do have a few comments, but we're gonna need to round up pretty soon. So because I usually like the program to be exactly an hour so that I can repost it easily on the platform. Most times we usually try to repost it for more people to see. So, like I said, the National Orientation Agency is almost redundant. That's a major channel of ensuring that the culture is different when addressing the Nigerian culture of loans and loan repayment.
Yeah, I think we pointed that out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but we don't even know. People don't even know what is there, what is happening there, what is the agency doing, and they are in all the states of the federation. They have staff who are being paid with taxpayers' money. What is happening there? What are they doing?
They're not really doing it. I mean, they engage with civil society, but when I see them in fora, I'm like, what are y'all doing? What's the deal? So like I get what you're saying. There's, I think, Ufoma, I know you have quite a few comments here. Thank you so much for your contribution to this conversation on YouTube. Thank you so much. You're just awesome. I appreciate this. I have a comment from Agwu Uchena. He says there's nothing new between the student loan and subsequent student scholarship scheme like PTDF scholarship that has been hijacked by politicians as an avenue for settling cronies and praise singers. Like we were saying, corruption, and more corruption. So we just don't want a situation where this is just another one of those corruption, and more corruption. We just got to make sure that there's transparency, there's accountability. And I think as the president was on the campaign trail, he was talking about this on his campaign trail. He talked about it when he was campaigning for Buhari back in 2014. So it's like, this is something I believe that he's very passionate about and that he wants to develop the education system, the tertiary education system in Nigeria. It's just the devil is in the details. So that's that. But anyway, Barrister Kelechukwu Agwu, thank you so much for your conversation here. You really added a lot of value in this dialogue. Can you just give us your final thoughts?
All right, so thank you very much. My final thoughts will be very simple, and that is, I will quote the words of our president: "Let the poor breathe. Let the poor breathe." So, because corruption is choking the poor people, the whole bureaucracy system and whatever is in system is choking the poor people. a lot of this whole loan thing is trying to help the poor people, but it will eventually choke the poor people if it is not properly managed. So I'm calling on the government to set up structures to manage this properly. I'm calling on civil societies to begin on time to monitor this process. I am calling on Nigerians to change our attitude towards loan and loan repayment. Yeah. And I'm calling on whoever will be appointed to manage this fund. It's going to be a whole lot of money. 1% of the income from FRS, from customs, from immigration is a whole lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
I'm calling on them to know that this is money meant for the poor people. Whoever eats it, whoever deals with it wrongly will answer to God. That's the truth. And
the truth.
They really need to be careful. But as Nigerians, let us know that it's not dash money, it's not free money, it's a loan. It is a loan, and it will be repaid. So thank you very much for inviting me on your show, and thank you for all you do, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Barrister Kelechukwu. I appreciate you. We'll talk some more. I appreciate this conversation. Do take care.
All right.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye. So, as you see, we had a conversation with Barrister Kelechukwu Agwu talking about the Student Loan Act, so just having that kind of conversation. When I heard of it, I'm like, man, this is a good idea, but here are some issues. And I hope that this was able to educate each and every one of us on this dialogue on the, Student Loan Act. Hopefully it would help people to be empowered, to be able to do more to develop the nation, not be another tool for politicians and their cronies. I really do believe that the president had, good intent, to make sure that this passes. But, corruption is a big issue in our nation. Again, thank you so much for watching. This episode was sponsored by Social Impact Consulting. We're a development consultancy firm that looks to maximize social impact. For more information, please visit www.socialimpactng.com. If you're interested in a free discovery call, a free webinar, or some of my digital courses, which on fundraising and administration on how to run your nonprofit, just visit the website and just click on some of the resources that we have. Thank you so much for watching, and let's change the world together. Do take care. Bye now.